Hey, all you ghoulish gourmets. And does the very thought of entering your kitchen strike terror into your heart? Never fear, because I have a relatively new segment to Deadites on Deck, and that is movie munchies. And I've done quite a few movie munchies already, including the most recent one for Shakma infused gorilla bread. But I've done other things like phantasm popcorn spheres. Um, we've made the stuff marshmallow cream uh, cheesecake version. Um, I have LG's TCM2, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 Fry House. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go out and watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 to see LG's Fry House. And many, many more. So check all of those out on Deadites on Deck for the best in horror cooking. And I even have one for Grinch Punch, by the way, which wasn't really a horror thing, but so join me, or join us, as they said on The Evil Dead. And I am the Evil Dead chick. So join me for Movie Munchies, usually every Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the kitchen. Howdy, gang. And this is kind of a little impromptu video. Uh, and I found out some uh, news that bummed me out, and I know I'm delayed. I know there's probably been hundreds of people that have already done videos or live streams or what have you on David Lynch. However, I did not realize that David Lynch passed away this past Wednesday. And when I discovered it, I was really bummed, because David Lynch is one of those guys that um, really blew my mind when I watched his stuff for the first time. And, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. This is not going to be a long video at all because, like I previously said, uh, people have already, I'm sure, hundreds and hundreds of people on YouTube and otherwise have made videos about David Lynch. And I'm unfortunately delayed in that respect, because I guess I wasn't paying attention. Now, Steve told me that he knew that David Lynch passed away, and he said he thought I knew. But usually, when someone passes away, he tells me. But in any event, I did not realize until I saw something from Bright Rags, where they had, rest in peace, and they had a picture of David Lynch. And I was like, whoa, did David Lynch pass away? And sure enough, he did. And I'm going to talk about him in just a moment for a short while. Again, this is not going to be a super long video. Um, I meant to do this one earlier and got behind with doing different things. And so I am finally doing my video now. But before I get started with the David Lynch stuff, I did want to remind people of a few things. Tonight or this evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, me and Candace are planning on continuing the Into the Zone Friday Foolish shows. We're going to be talking more about season 1 of the original Twilight Zone, interspersed with some of the Twilight Zone from the 80s episodes. Candace has not had a chance to refresh herself on those. So I will be sprinkling our discussion with a few of these episodes, okay? And that's just season 1 of the 80s Twilight Zone. Okay. And be on the lookout, like I said, for that at 6 p.m. Eastern Time today. I'm planning on getting this video up as soon as I can so that you guys and gals can see it and it won't be delayed telling you all these announcements. And they just let a couple of my girls in here. Pardon me one moment. I'm going to slide that door closed. Because I am trying to keep the sound from the living room from coming back here and being distracting. I guess these girls need out. So, as usual, I'm going to pause this a second and I'll be right back. Okay. So, I think I'm back here. It says recording resumed. The great thing about doing these pre-recorded videos is if I have to step away, then it's not one of those things where you guys have to wait for me to come back. So I do have some Twin Peaks font that I'm using for my name and stuff. But what I was going to talk about, I get very distracted easily and forget what I'm talking about, which is why I don't like to stop and start these videos all the time. But life happens, right? So I'm going to try to remember and pick up where I left off. So I have not done movie munchies for a while, a long while. But I'm going to be making a comeback, and I got so excited about the movie munchies that I was like, I'll do an extra special movie munchies this next weekend. When I was only planning on doing once a month, but in light of David Lynch's untimely passing, I decided to do another one next Sunday. But this Sunday, and I'm going to tell you what the special one is going to be for the following Sunday. But this Sunday's, is going to be taken from the Castle Rock Kitchen Cookbook by Teresa Carl Sanders. These are wicked good recipes from the world of Stephen King. So they're recipes based on Stephen King stories. And this week, this Sunday, I will be making killer mac and cheese, or as I want to call it, Grandma's killer mac and cheese, based on the story Grandma, the short story Grandma that Stephen King did many, many moons ago, and is one of my favorite Stephen King short stories. So be on the lookout for that video to make its appearance at some point on Sunday. Now, those of you that watch this video may notice the old Movie Munchies commercial. And I'll try to get it put out by 3 p.m. Eastern time, but these are not going to be live anymore. These are going to be pre-recorded just because it's easier on me to do that than to rummage around and try to mess around doing it live. And sometimes people, or a lot of times, people are not available to just watch these live. Hence me deciding to do these pre-recorded. Now, the following weekend, we will have an extra special in honor of David Lynch. We're going to be making, or I'm going to be making, a damn fine cup of coffee with a piece of cherry pie, which I'm actually going to be making a whole cherry pie. But I actually found a damn fine cup of coffee recipe. And guess who in the video makes the cup of coffee? Kyle MacLachlan, the original Agent Dale Cooper. So, I was really excited about this. And the Twin Peaks cherry pie that I'm going to be making, evidently people were not able to get the actual recipe for that cherry pie on Twin Peaks. Okay. So fans came up with a very good recipe that I'm going to be using to make the cherry pie to go with the damn fine cup of coffee. So that will be not this Sunday. This Sunday is the Grandma's Killer Mac and Cheese. The following Sunday will be the damn fine cup of coffee with a piece of cherry pie in honor of Mr. David Lynch. Okay, so I think that is all of the announcements I have to make, and I've been on here babbling for about 12 minutes or so. So let's get to David Lynch. As I said, when I found out he had passed away, I was very bummed because David Lynch, to me, from the first moment I discovered this guy, has been a master of the bizarre, the intriguing, and some guy that no matter what he makes, you just can't take your eyes off of it. No matter how bizarre or flipped upside down or whatever that he does, you literally could not take your eyes off of what was being created. Okay. Now, have I seen everything that David Lynch has done? No, I haven't. But in this video, I want to do a few highlights of things that over the years that David Lynch has created that have really, that I've really taken notice of. Okay. So the first thing that I actually knew that David Lynch did that I took notice of was the original Twin Peaks. Okay. And then a year or so ago, we got this, which was a limited event series, which was a continuation of the original Twin Peaks. Now, I must be totally honest, I was not as big of a fan. I liked it very much. But I was not as big of a fan as this one because here's why for me, because the original Twin Peaks that came out in the early 90s was something that honestly turned everything on its ear really, really quickly. Because Twin Peaks started out as a movie / pilot type of thing. Okay. And I remember me and my dad being very excited to watch this because it just basically seemed like a murder mystery. And so we watched this movie pilot, and it blew my mind because I was in my teens when this started. Okay. And I just absolutely loved it. And Dad was mesmerized too by the movie slash pilot. Okay. And so when the show started, me and my dad would watch it every week. And then slowly my dad got where I think he would watch it here and there after the first few episodes. But when it got to talking about things like the log lady and the little guy moving backwards and talking backwards, and Laura Palmer, who was the one that they found dead at the beginning or near the beginning of the movie slash pilot, um, played fantastically by Miss Cheryl Lee. Um, Dad kind of tuned out after that. It was just too bizarre for him. He's like, "What in the heck is this lady talking to a log?" And he just didn't get it. Okay, but I don't think David Lynch meant for people to get it, completely. I think David Lynch liked the fact that a lot of that stuff was left to interpretation of the viewer. Okay. But my dad just didn't want to think that hard. Okay. And it got too weird for him. But I continued with it. And sadly, over time, I forgot how that original series ended and all that stuff. So, hence, when this little gem came out, I had to get it. This is the original series, Fire Walk with Me and the Missing Pieces. Now, I must say that I don't think I've ever watched Fire Walk with Me. If I have, it was way, way back when it came out. And I still need to watch all the missing pieces, and I still need to refresh myself on Fire Walk with Me. Okay. But the original series, I did go back and watch it, and I was just mesmerized all over again. I got sucked right back into that storyline, and I absolutely loved it all over again. In fact, I think I loved it more because, I was in my early teens whenever I watched it originally, and now I'm an adult. So, things that we watched when we were kids sometimes resonate more when we get older, especially something like Twin Peaks, which has so many twists and turns and nooks and crannies in it, that it is just a treasure trove, basically. And who is at the center of this? David Lynch is at the center of this. This come out of David Lynch's head. Okay. Now, yes, there were other writers that wrote other segments over time, but David Lynch was the originator of this. And David Lynch's fingerprint was on this entire series. There's no doubt about that. He was that major cogwheel in there. And he shows up as one of Agent Cooper's I can't talk superiors throughout the series, and I absolutely love that he shows up periodically in the series. And I have a quote, and I believe that this is a quote that he mentioned in the series. Keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole. And you think about that. And that's not just some bit of, or I don't feel like that's some little bizarre tidbit that come out of David Lynch's mind. I think that really has some meaning. So much meaning, in fact, that when I saw the Facebook post about David Lynch's family and associates, they were literally they were saying there was a hole. Um, now that Mr. Lynch is gone, and then they repeated this quote, keep your eye on the donut and not on the hole. So to me, that quote, even before David Lynch's passing, um, meant, to me, it meant keep your eye on the whole picture. Don't be looking through the donut hole. Keep your eye on the whole entire picture. Because if you're looking through the donut hole, you're limiting yourself a lot. Okay. So you got to look above the hole, below the hole, to the sides of the hole. You have to take in that whole picture. Okay. And I think this also applies to when you look at David Lynch's work. For instance, when you look at Twin Peaks, you got to be looking here. You got to be looking here, up here, down here, in the center, everywhere, to fully be able to take as much as you can in by this masterpiece. It's almost like um, a painting, an oil painting, where there's hidden objects in there. And this is how I see it. Other people may see things in different ways, and they say, "Dang it, you're just totally, you're wrong," and that's okay. That is perfectly fine. Everybody's going to have a different interpretation of the works of David Lynch. So Twin Peaks is like, to me, that's that center point for me. And then everything else that I've seen David Lynch related kind of bounces off of Twin Peaks, because Twin Peaks was where I first started to take notice of David Lynch. Since then, I have seen, some of his short films that he's did. There was a DVD that I think it was called The Short Films of David Lynch. And, some people may look at that and say, oh, this is a bizarre bunch of mumbo jumbo. But I really looked at it as a reflection on different parts of David Lynch's life and what kind of things he was imagining. Um, and some of those things might have been seemed grotesque or bizarre, but again, you have to think about David Lynch as a whole and what he was trying to create. And I would see little pieces of these short films, the theme anyway, interwoven into other things that David Lynch did, including Twin Peaks. Everything for me bounces back and goes back to Twin Peaks. Okay. Eraserhead. That is another one that people that don't really get into David Lynch, um, don't really get into his film philosophy, I guess would be the way to say it, may look at that and say, what in the heck? Because Eraserhead stars Jack Nance as a man living in an industrial society, and you would have to watch Eraserhead to really understand that industrial society. Okay, I can't really explain it here. It's dirty, it's gritty, a lot of big buildings, New York City style scenery, I guess. Um, so that's what I mean by industrial. A lot of smoke stacks and all of that. So Jack Nance gets involved with a woman, and she gives birth to a baby, a mutant baby that literally cries all the time. And so Jack Nance, you know, he goes back and forth between, he can't stand it. The baby's driving him crazy. The baby never hushes. And, there are many points and times should he put the baby out of its misery? No, that would be wrong. That would be murder. Very, um, I feel like Eraserhead is anti society, not anti-child, because it's not really the child so much that's driving Jack Nance's character crazy, it's the world. He believes that this baby has come out of the mess that the world is in, that the society as a whole has created this mutant baby. If society wasn't the way it was, then the woman he was with would have had a normal baby. It's just one more thing in a variety of bad things that happens to this main character. Now, other people might see Eraserhead in a totally different way. I need to actually, I'd love to go back and watch Eraserhead again. Um, so uh, it's not uh, it's not something that I want to watch all the time. But it is definitely something that I consider um, quite often. So um, I did, like I said, I definitely wanted to talk about Twin Peaks, and I wanted to talk about Eraserhead. Um, and like I said, David Lynch did a lot of short films over time. Sadly, I can't say that I've watched all of them, uh, but he did, like, early in his career, back in the late 60s and early 70s, he did uh, a lot of short films. Um, Eraserhead, sorry, we're having, like, not a major fruit fly problem, but we're having a few that are flying around here and bothering me. Um, but Eraserhead, I don't believe came out until 1977. Um, he also did The Elephant Man, which sadly, The Elephant Man I have never seen. That is something that I need to see. Um, Dune in 1984. Blue Velvet is another one, another highlight I want to talk about from 1986. Blue Velvet is a very dark, um, kind of, as a lot of David Lynch's stuff, dark and depressing, but still so creative. Um, Dennis Hopper is great in this. Kyle MacLachlan is great in this. Um, Hold on one moment here. We will. It's been a while since I watched Blue Velvet as well, and I actually want to go back and rewatch it. Um, so Blue Velvet is one of those neo noir films. Like I said, Isabella Rossellini's in this as well. Kyle MacLachlan, Dennis Hopper, Laura Dern, Dean Stockwell, um, Brad Dourif's even in this. I'd forgotten about Brad Dourif being in this, but so this is listed as both an erotic thriller and a psychological thriller. So there's a severed human ear. This thing, starts off with a bang and just keeps going. So there's the discovery of a human ear found in a field, and it leads a young man on an investigation related to a beautiful, mysterious nightclub singer and a group of psychopathic criminals who have kidnapped her child. So, again, we're dealing with very bizarre subject matter once again. Um, and, it's this movie is very sexually charged, I guess would be the way to say it. Very, very atmospheric as well. Like I said, I really want to go back and watch Blue Velvet again, um, because I remember, the last couple of times or so I watched it, See, that's something else about David Lynch. I don't feel like with David Lynch that you need to watch them in close succession. Like, there are some movies that you can set and you can watch over and over again. David Lynch's movies, I think you've got to absorb. I think you've got to let them sink in. Then you wait a while and then you say, hey, I'd like to pick back up on that David Lynch movie. And, Eraserhead's like that, Blue Velvet's like that, even Twin Peaks is like that. And I'm not sure why that got opened again, but anyway. Um, anyways, to get back to this, I just, like I said, with this video, I kind of wanted to, I don't know why my list keeps going away either, touch on a lot of the highlights, or what I feel are the highlights of David Lynch's career. Now, he did some music videos as well. I seen he did a 9 Inch Nails video, music video. By 1990, of course, he was doing Twin Peaks. He did Wild at Heart, which I have not seen Wild at Heart. He did Chris Isaak's Wicked Games music video. And there's some stuff that probably people have not even dipped into. In 1998 or 97, 98, he did Lost Highway, which I think I've seen Lost Highway, but it's been a little bit, because I think I may have talked about a few of David Lynch's things and videos. Mulholland Drive, which I haven't seen Mulholland Drive, but that's one that Steve has. There's a lot. He even did a lot of shorts. That short films of David Lynch that I was talking about earlier came out in 2002, in case you want to try to hunt that up. But over his career, he did a lot of shorts and music videos interspersed with different movies here and there. He worked with Marilyn Manson. So yeah, I mean, he has had an amazing career. He did the video Duran Duran Unstaged. So he not only worked in movies, but he also did music videos. He did 9 Inch Nails, Came Back Haunted. That Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces, which is part of the original Twin Peaks series box set. He did that in, I believe, 2014. I mean, there's just so much stuff here. I could spend hours, but I won't, talking about David Lynch. But I did want to touch on like Twin Peaks, and I wanted to touch on Eraserhead, and I wanted to touch on Blue Velvet, because a lot of people, when they think about David Lynch, those are the kind of things that I think that they think about. But if you have not dipped into the work of David Lynch, now some people might not agree with me here, but I would suggest you start with Twin Peaks and go out from there. And then if you like Twin Peaks, if you like that style, then I would say, start trying to get into a few of his short films here and there. That short films of David Lynch might be a place to start, because there is a DVD of that. And, then, dip into Eraserhead. Maybe dip into Blue Velvet before you dip into Eraserhead. Because between the two, I would say that Blue Velvet is a little more straightforward than Eraserhead. Okay. So, and here's another thing about David Lynch. I don't feel like David Lynch's stuff, any of his stuff is artsy fartsy. Some people might think it is, but I don't feel like it is. I think that this is a work of a genius filmmaker. And I assign that title to very few directors over time. But David Lynch is one of those that, yes, this guy was a genius. This guy was ahead of his time. And I will always, always maintain that. So I've talked on here for about 35, 36 minutes. Not all of that was about David Lynch, but the big bulk of it was. And like I said, I didn't mean for this to be hours and hours long video because I don't think I need to do that. And I had meant to drink some champagne, which I'm going to do that when I get off of here. But I had forgotten to do it while I was actually on the video. So before I get off of here, I want to raise my metaphorical glass to Mr. David Lynch. My hat, is off to you, Mr. Lynch. And God bless you for making some of the most thought-provoking and bizarre in the best way films and television shows that I've ever seen in my life. One of the most imaginative human beings to ever grace cinema screens or television screens. So I guess that's all for me. And I'm going to go have my glass of bubbly in honor of Mr. Lynch. Sorry that I did not do it on this video, but you guys probably don't care if I drink a little bubbly on here or not. But I am going to have a toast to Mr. Lynch. And I hope you guys and gals have enjoyed going back and dipping into the David Lynch pool. And for those of you that have never seen one David Lynch product, I hope this encourages you to go back and watch his work. And so with that being said, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the afternoon, until me and Candace do Friday Foolish at 6 p.m. Eastern time today, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Friday, folks, and a fantastic weekend. And I'll see everybody next time.